even from a bigger picture perspective, it's a unique challenge to build an enjoyable vacation experience out of a biblical account that, though there's a lot of hope in it, also has some pretty deep and even somber themes. And so that's been a challenge that we've kind of faced on several different fronts. I mean, as we think about exhibits, we have one exhibit in particular that focuses on the pre-flood world. And, our view is that it was a dark time. And so, what do we show? What do we not show visually? And so we tried to walk this fine line, but it's a challenge at times. On the other end, we want to create experiences that are fun and that families will be drawn to, where they can make memories. So it's been an interesting journey just to kind of navigate those choices.
Where will the attractions industry go next?
Find out at IAAPA North America Summit, March 30th through April 1st, 2025 at Disney's Grand Californian Hotel.
Join executives, innovators, and thought leaders to build connections, explore trends through exclusive EDUTours, and gain strategic insights to put into action.
This summit offers a unique opportunity to learn and grow alongside the industry's best.
Don't miss the chance to shape the future of the attractions industry.
Click the link in the show notes to register today.
Welcome to the Attraction Pros podcast, where we discuss the latest trends and challenges facing the attractions industry today.
We chat with some of the top leaders in the field and provide resources that will help develop your career in this great industry.
I am Josh Liebman. I am obsessed with the guest experience and helping attractions make that their top priority for success.
And I'm Matt Heller. I am passionate about organizational effectiveness, leadership development, and employee engagement.
Now sit upright, hold on tight, and get ready for the Attraction Pros podcast.
Hey, Matt, how's it going?
It's going fantastically, Josh. How are you?
I'm good. You sped up the fantastic or the fantastically, really stretched out the how.
I'm always trying to keep it fresh.
You're keeping me on my toes. So
Good.
Question for you.
Yes.
What is the largest boat you've ever been on?
It's got to be a cruise ship, but I don't know exactly how big it was. I'm going to go with a cruise ship, but I don't know, have the dimensions. How about you?
Also a cruise ship. I didn't really know how this question would play out. But the reason I ask is because today we're going to talk about a boat that is 510 feet long, 85 feet wide, and 51 feet tall.
And it's the largest timber frame structure in the world.
So if you don't know what boat we're talking about yet, and by the way, this boat lives on land in Kentucky. So it's actually, maybe it's not really a boat, but it's the Ark. It is Noah's Ark. We get to talk to Alan Greene. He is the Senior Design Director for Ark Encounter, which is also connected with the Creation Museum, all under the umbrella of Answers in Genesis in Kentucky, where they have built a full-scale replica of Noah's Ark.
And it was fascinating to hear not only about the design process, but also the build process and kind of what it looks like inside and what the guest experience is. Certainly, there's a lot of people that we talk to on this podcast and I say, yes, I want to go there. And I do. I want to go to them all. And this one in particular, I think would just be so cool to see from a story perspective and from a design perspective.
You know what I think is interesting, and this is one of the things I was thinking about during the interview, is we hear about themed environments and immersive environments that are being built using some sort of context for reference. So for example, if you go to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, the text is used very heavily from the Harry Potter books in the design of Hogsmeade and Diagon Alley. Alan talks about using the Bible as the historical context for it, as well as ancient shipbuilding techniques. So fascinating to be able to use those as reference points for building something in real life in the modern day.
Absolutely. And one of the things he talks about is in that experience, and I just have to say this, he talks about VR on Noah's Ark. And to me, that just did not compute this. replication of something that was around so long ago, and then one of the newest technologies that we have to tell stories. Again, just in my mind, without seeing it, it did not compute. I'm sure it'll come to life when I go there and see it, but it's just the oldest and the newest.
I had the same thought when he talked about elevators being on the Ark, which tied into kind of balancing authenticity with modern day, not only conveniences and requirements, and then to your point, leveraging technology to be able to enhance and go or kind of deliver the guest experience. Speaking of the guest experience, his background, he started at Kings Island in operations, so he's got that operational background before pursuing a career in design. And so he's able to really look at design through the lens of the guest and the guest flow and the nuances that go into the guest experience. And we get to hear all about his design process from that angle as well.
We also get to hear how, obviously, Answers in Genesis, the Ark Encounter, Creation Museum, they're faith-based attractions. And that can have a little bit of a different connotation to different people. He's very proud of it. You can tell he leans into it, something he's very excited to be part of this organization. So we get to talk a little bit about some of the things that other attractions can learn from faith-based organizations, but also maybe some of the challenges that they face in being that faith-based attraction.
Yeah, 100%. So should we round up two of every animal and get to this interview?
Let's get on the Ark and go. Hey, Alan, welcome to the Attraction Pros podcast. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much. How are you all doing today?
We're great. So excited to have you with us and to be able to chat about you and what you do. So let's start there. Give us kind of a background about your kind of background in the attractions industry.
Sure. Well, thanks guys for letting me be on here. This is a lot of fun. I love your all's work. So yeah, my name's Alan, here at the Ark Encounter, but was blessed to have some experiences that led up to working here. I grew up close to Kings Island in Cincinnati, Ohio, fell in love with the theme park world, roller coasters, spent a lot of time there in junior high and high school. I was so excited when I got my first job at Kings Island when I was like 15 and worked in rides for 4 different seasons there. Loved it. Went to college at the University of Cincinnati, studied industrial design, and they had a great internship program. And through that, I was able to work at a few different places. Bruce D. Robinson Design Group was a design firm in Cincinnati with a lot of cool projects. I mean, they've done work at Hersham Properties and work in Pigeon Forge, the Titanic Museum, a lot of Ripley's. So got to do some work there. Worked at Jack Rouse Associates in Cincinnati as well, doing internships and freelance work, and that was a really special experience. They were doing a lot of projects at the time, international projects, and some close to home as well, some different children's museums, a couple of theme parks, and then worked with Phil Hedema at the Hedema Group in Pasadena, California, as well. So got a lot of great exposure, just learning. I was exposed to a lot, I should say, through those experiences. Then when I graduated, I wanted to work in the themed entertainment industry somewhere. I heard about this crazy group building this life-size Noah's Ark, and I thought, man, that is so cool. I'm a Christian, and just to bring together my passion for the Lord and the themed entertainment industry seemed so perfect. So, reached out and was able to come on board here. Been here for 11 years now, so it's been a great ride.
Wow. Excellent. I really enjoyed kind of following that career path there. I wondering, Alan, if we could, you talked about, visiting Kings Island and really falling in love with the industry, then working at Kings Island for a while. Curious if we can dive deeper into kind of I don't want to say maybe the transition, but kind of the growth from, being the employee in the theme park to then really finding the passion for the design side and kind of moving into that space in the industry.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, that just happened organically. I think from my youngest memories at Kings Island, almost youngest, I was just having a blast there. And it wasn't like someone told me to love theme parks, but somehow I became an ACE member. I got addicted. I wanted to be at all the a day. I wanted to learn what the new ride was going to be, and I just loved every part of it. So as soon as I could work there, that was my intention. And I always, from that time on, thought I want to be in this industry. Didn't know quite where I fit, but as I grew older and learned about different opportunities, it just at first I thought, do I want to be a roller coaster engineer? And the more I realized what that meant, I realized that's not me. I'm a more pretty picture storyteller kind of guy. So that kind of led my journey to the more creative design themed entertainment work.
So I want to kind of stay on that thread just for a second, because both Josh and I started in rides. We're both, coaster nerds and everything.
Yeah.
I'm curious from those early days at Kings Island, what are some of the lessons that you took from that that you might still be using now?
Absolutely. Yeah. So for two of my seasons at Kings Island, I was an associate and then two, I was a supervisor. And I think, from the supervisor perspective, I was, along with a couple others, we were responsible for a team of maybe 35 people at a couple rides. And just the leadership responsibilities, that sense of, I'm responsible for this crew, for everyone's safety, for the guests' enjoyment, getting people on breaks and back in time. That was a bigger responsibility than I'd ever had before. So I think that was a big one, sense of leadership. And also just having to be out there in front of guests, and when the ride shut down, having to do some guest relation work, and yeah, just that experience of kind of speaking publicly with others, that was a big deal as well. So today, I mean, I'm responsible for our team of designers here, and so a lot of that leadership kind of comes through what we do every day here. And I think having a frontline exposure there at Kings Island, just seeing what guests naturally do, the questions they ask, the desires they have, that comes into the designs that we're thinking about every day as we think about experiences that'll work well for real people and real families who have real needs. So there's a lot that I still benefit from those days.
Yeah, that makes sense. Having the kind of looking at design through the lens of the operator, and that kind of adds another kind of layer to probably some of the logistics and some of the nuances that go into the design side. So that's really fascinating.
Actually, yeah.
Could we talk a little bit about the Ark Encounter Creation Museum? Can you tell us, for someone who might not be familiar, tell us about the experience, or even just the organization Answers in Genesis as a whole, and kind of the parent company of the two attractions?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's some cool history behind it. So our CEO, his name's Ken Ham, he came from Australia, and he had this passion to have a museum that was based on the Bible. So his passion kind of started for this back in the 70s, 80s. He came over to the US, and they formed this group, Answers in Genesis, and starting to develop a museum, which is now the Creation Museum, opened in 2007. It's in Petersburg, Kentucky. But it's kind of a funny story because they just had this passion and they didn't know how to get it done. And the Lord kind of brought the right people at the right time. One key person that was brought into this was a guy named Patrick Marsh. And Patrick, he had a background in the theme park industry. He was an art director at Universal Studios in the 80s in Orlando. He worked on Jaws and King Kong. And from there, he did theme park design in Japan. And when he heard about Answers in Genesis and the Creation Museum being developed, he called the group and he got connected. So he's really the one who brought to the ministry this whole kind of background in themed entertainment, creative design. He grew the team that's here today, made up of designers, fabricators, exhibit artists, etc., content writers. And so the museum, as I said, it opened in 2007. And I wasn't here at that time, but there was a desire from early on to create some kind of an experience in addition to the museum based on Noah's Ark. There is a exhibit in the Creation Museum. It's just a small exhibit about Noah's Ark, and it got a lot of good feedback from guests. And so the ministry thought, wow, can we do something bigger about that? So we opened the Ark Encounter in 2016, and that is a full-size recreation of Noah's Ark. It's the largest timber frame structure in the world. It's in Williamstown, Kentucky, so it's 45 minutes south of the Creation Museum, and we have a lot more property at the Ark Encounter. We have 800 acres, and so it's really more like a theme park, whereas the museum is more of a traditional museum. We have other things as well. We have exhibits. We just opened a conservatory, which features plants of the Bible. So we have a lot of things at the museum, but the Ark Encounter properties where we have kind of the most future vision and opportunity to expand. So the Ark This will be going on our ninth season this summer. We opened in July back in 2016, and it's been great to see just the property grow over those 9 years. The Ark itself, it has three different decks, and we welcome guests inside. It's similar to a museum style experience. You walk through one deck at a time, and it's kind of a combination of immersive sets where you meet Noah and his family and animals and cages, but also exhibitry, kind of traditional museum style exhibitry with teaching about the flood and what it means for us today. So there's a story developed on those three decks. The first deck is about the flood is coming. You see Noah and his family as they prepare for the flood. The second deck is like, what was life like on the ark? How did they just have a daily life during that time? And then the third deck is really looking to life as the flood ended, what life would look like after the flood. So it's a really cool immersive experience. But since we've opened, slowly we've been able to add things on property. We have a large auditorium that we have conferences and concerts in. We have a zoo that's continuing to grow. We have zip lines. We have a carousel we opened a couple years ago, and we have a lot of vision for future things as well on that property. So a lot of fun things going on.
Well, I have to say, I've never been there. I'm intrigued to go and experience it, but I'm glad that you don't recreate the flood.
Yeah,
No, right? That would be very messy.
that would, yes.
But I'm curious, Alan, from your standpoint as the senior design director, can you kind of walk us through your maybe your day to day or the kind of things that you get to do and work on?
Yeah, I really have like a dream job. It is so much fun because we have this incredible team here full of super skilled people, and I just get to kind of be a part of everything that's going on. We have a lot of active projects in execution right now, such as new exhibits, new developments. We have projects that are kind of midway in the concept phase. We have some projects that are just kind of blue sky ideas. And so we have designers in all those phases. We have fabrication team members and tech design team members and digital modelers in all those phases. So I get to just kind of be a part of it and try to hold it together, which is not hard because this team's amazing. And then I get to interact with our leadership, kind of to share progress on things, to understand what their needs are, to hopefully cast some vision as well. So it's just a blast working with this awesome team.
I'm curious, and this goes back to kind of talking about the design side through the lens of of guest operations, but also the aesthetic side of it combined with not only operational functionality, but also the true, I would say, vision. I almost mean that literally, like of the ark itself. I've also never been there, but seeing
Yeah.
pictures of it, you see, aesthetically from the exterior, this massive structure, it looks like the ark, right? You then talk to us about the three levels and the different components of the story and walking through the museum. So I'm wondering if maybe you could, maybe we can go deeper into the design through the lens of the guest, while at the same time thinking about the guest's experience while also immersing them into the feeling of I am now on the ark. I know that was like
Yeah.
a mouthful of a question to get to where we're going, but that's kind of where what's swirling in here.
Absolutely. Well, it was a unique goal for our team to try to recreate as real as possible Noah's Ark, but also in such a way that it's a themed experience that anybody can walk into. So, of course, we looked to the Bible for the biblical dimensions of what the ark would be. We looked at ancient shipbuilding. So, we're trying to create something that is as real as possible. But of course, it's built today with all the codes that we have. And so, there's elevators, there's ADA codes we had to meet with ramps and things. So, the ark itself, of course, is not truly what a real ship would have been like in Noah's day. But in the Ark, we have a diorama of a scaled down representation of Noah's Ark that we put our best efforts into really showcasing what Noah's Ark would have been like with understanding of the amount of animals and food, all that kind of thing needed. So we try to show as best we can what we think the Ark really would have been like. But of course, in our full scale Ark, we have things that you would just expect in a guest themed entertainment experience like food and beverage and restrooms and all those kind of things. So it is even from a bigger picture perspective, it's a unique challenge to build an enjoyable vacation experience out of a biblical account that, though there's a lot of hope in it, also has some pretty deep and even somber themes. And so that's been a challenge that we've kind of faced on several different fronts. I mean, as we think about exhibits, we have one exhibit in particular that focuses on the pre-flood world. And, our view is that it was a dark time. And so what do we show? What do we not show visually? And so we tried to walk this fine line, but it's a challenge at times. On the other end, we want to create experiences that are fun and that families will be drawn to, where they can make memories. So it's been an interesting journey just to kind of navigate those choices.
And I would imagine the word balance comes up quite a bit because you're telling a story, through the lens of the guest, right? You want them
Yeah.
to get a certain feeling out of this. At the same time, when they walk away, you might want them to say, "Hey, my neighbors should do that," or "I want to do that again." And so you don't want to be too somber, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So there's got to be a balance in that design process.
Exactly. You're exactly right. We want to encourage people to come back. Yeah, so it is. I mean, our approach is not to stray from the truth of what we believe, is shown in scripture. So where those somber moments are present, we don't want to shy away from that. But we also have areas that we can really just design to be celebrating. I mean, good things. So like we have an awesome kids playground. We have a VR experience, which is super dynamic and fun. So we try to offer a lot of things that are people will want to come back for and bring their kids, bring their friends for. So yeah, definitely.
Alan, a lot of the things that you're describing are things that we are familiar seeing in attractions of all scopes and sizes, whether it's theme parks or at zoos or in aquariums and other cultural institutions, a science museum, a history museum. But being a faith-based attraction, I'm curious as far as what the industry perhaps can learn from, I would say, maybe the unique aspects of Ark Encounter, or what traditional attractions can learn from faith-based attractions in general.
Yeah, yeah. Like you said, in some ways we have a lot in common with anyone else in the industry. We're inspired by the same things. We love to study the newest trends and themed attractions and parks and rides and all that. Um, and so to answer your question, what can people learn from a faith-based attraction? I think every individual group would have to kind of take that as whatever as their own, however they would receive that. So I can just share, what's worked for us, and groups would kind of interpret that in their own way. But some things that maybe could be helpful would include the fact that what we're trying to create is more than just a fun day at a park. It's more than just escapism. And I love a fun day at the park. I mean, I love going to Kings Island still. Um, but we're trying to offer that plus something with eternal significance, something that can go beyond just a day at the park, but that you bring home with you, and it becomes part of your daily life. So for us, I mean, as believers, we want people to experience and encounter not just with the Ark, but with God. And so we offer things like resources, we offer books and DVDs and programs, Vacation Bible School, Bible curriculum, so that people can take home what they're learning and experience it in a day-to-day kind of way. And I think any park is really in some ways trying to tap into more than just a single day, whether it's through an app or whatever, a website. But if there's a message that has an eternal hope-filled significance that a park can leave their guests with, I think guests can take that home, and it will resound with them for a longer period of time. Another thing, I think we're maybe all seeing in the industry that there's just a craving right now for wholesomeness, that families are desiring that for their kids. And so we've tried to create a safe space. I mean, it's a blast, and we don't shy away from some of the adventure that the Bible brings, but it's what we would consider a safe space. And I do think there's a lot of the population who are looking for something like that. And then even from our team in-house, it's pretty cool to see just the people who come to work here because they love what we're about. And there's people who've come across the country and said, "I'm in, I want to work here," who have really awesome backgrounds, people from Hollywood and Disney and different places, and they want to come work for a place like this. Even though we're not as big and great as a lot of those other places, we don't have all the tools and resources they have. But there's a sense of camaraderie here that I think any team would desire to have, that kind of a family atmosphere where we can love each other other and have a lot in common. So maybe there's a few things there that others could benefit from.
Well, Alan, as you were sharing that, the word holistic kind of came to mind, right? Just thinking about you're creating this experience for when they are with you that day or those days, however many days they might be visiting, but you're also tying this into something that is, for some people is greater than that day, right? And I think to me that's one of the big takeaways, like even a Kings Island or a Cedar
Right.
Point, that can say, okay, what is the overall message here? Yes, it's about family, it's about fun, it's about memories, and that can be taken from any facility, right? Any kind of place that you have that kind of experience. So to me, that's one of the big takeaways is, you've got it through your faith and they may have it through memories or, the family
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see that, I mean, from personal experience at Kings Island too. So much of what I have memories from as a child with my family and what I'm experiencing with my kids now is fun times at Kings Island together. And so, wherever you are, whether it's Kings Island or the Ark Encounter, it's an opportunity for friends and family to use those moments to pour into each other and love each other. And from my perspective, I mean, to share who I believe God is with them in those moments. But I think another example, Hirsch and Family Entertainment, they have such great attractions, which really check a lot of those boxes of family oriented attractions. That I love going to those as well. They just kind of create an atmosphere that lends itself towards families coming together, loving each other well. So yeah.
Cool.
What about challenges from being a faith-based attraction?
Yeah, and again, a number of our challenges are probably not different from other groups. It seems like the biggest day-to-day challenges are just it sure would be nice to have a little bit bigger budget, a little bit longer schedule. I know everybody is facing those kind of things. Um, I guess one potential challenge is because we are so specific in our theme and our narrative, we are reducing the potential demographic could be interested in what we have to offer. Um, so I mean, we're not shy about our message, and so it may not be something attractive to as many people. And I could see that as, in a sense, a hindrance. But really, the Lord's been kind to us. I think we opened up this kind of crazy arc experience in the middle of almost nowhere, Kentucky, and we keep getting people coming, and so that's been a huge blessing. But those are maybe just some of the possible challenges.
Well, I would think as, no matter what someone's faith is, everybody's heard of Noah's Ark, right?
Yeah, that's
So
right.
everybody's heard that. And so I would imagine you also um, don't exclude anyone based on
Oh, right.
like if they
Oh,
want
yeah.
to see the Creation Museum or Noah's Ark, like it doesn't matter what their beliefs are, you still want them to come in and hear your stories.
We sure do. Everybody is invited, and we're thrilled when we learn that people are here at our attractions who have different worldviews. We're thrilled. That's what we want to do. We want to bring anybody and everybody to come in. Yeah.
Cool. Cool.
Alan, what are some of the things that you're looking for, perhaps when you're on the property, you're walking through, you're seeing guests experiencing it, you're looking at it through the lens of design, but also the lens of the guest experience. I'm curious, just kind of what are the gears turning in your brain when you're walking through?
Yeah. So it is so much fun, as you guys know, to walk through an experience that you've been a part of creating. It's awesome to see that. But we're always thinking like, what can we do better? And what can we do in the future? So there's kind of a short-term, long-term view in mind. There's things that we do just real short-term on a pretty common basis with our operations team to help small pinch points we might see. There's key areas that we become aware of. This line gets too long at this exhibit. How can we open this pathway or whatever it might be? Kind of smaller but important changes. But what I really love even more is seeing what our guests want more of, and then with our team here dreaming about how can we expand in bigger future attractions to address these things. I mean, one thing that we're hearing a lot, and maybe this is throughout the industry, is that we need to offer more for young families. We want to do more to reach the next generation. And so that's been a theme as we've kind of dreamt of future attractions, ways we can expand to address that. So yeah, it's fun to dream about what future things could come.
Well, I want to go back a little bit to the Ark just for a second because you mentioned it was the largest timber structure in the
Frame
world.
structure in the world. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So I'm curious, first of all, exactly how big is it? What are the dimensions?
Yeah. So it's 510 feet long, it's 85 feet wide, it's 51 feet high. And on one side, it has a sail that from the ground level up to the sail is just above 100 feet tall.
Okay.
So it's a big structure. And of course, we have done what we can to make it just based on what the biblical dimensions are. But it kind of worked out that oftentimes it's helpful in a themed attraction setting to have some big, cool visual magnet. And so, Disney has their castle or Epcot has Spaceship Earth. We have this nice kind of visual magnet there.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing the dimensions. I'm also curious because it is such a large timber frame structure, what were some of the design considerations or challenges you might have faced? Because any place else that a structure that big is going to have steel and it's going to have other things that are supporting it.
The team who developed this architecturally is truly awesome. I mean, because they took our shape of the arc and they then translated that into an architectural building. And there is concrete, there is steel, there is screws, all those things. But there's a lot of impressive timbers. There are these some of the structure of the arc are these Engelmann spruce that were cut down. They were standing dead, harvested from a forest in Utah, and some are are around 66 feet tall, and they're still intact in the middle of the arc. You can walk through and see these huge, big timbers, and it's just so cool. So there's a lot of authenticity that went into the arc as well. It's not all just fake scenically painted wood. It's real. There was a number of Amish involved in constructing the ark, and when the first bent, that's like this large structural piece, went vertical. I mean, it was so exciting because we were dreaming about this, but when it started to go vertical, it was very, very cool. Here at our design studio and fabrication shop, we were building the exhibit tree, the props and scenes and such here while the ark was being built at the same time. So there was a lot going on at once. And we had to stage areas here in our fabrication shop as if they were the size of different exhibit areas, test all that, move it into the ark and set it up. And like any big project, there was a crunch time up to the last minute. A lot of us didn't go to sleep the night before just to get it all done in time. So yeah.
How do you take everything you just told us there and tell that story to the guest? Because I got to imagine that's got to be an important piece for or maybe just a point of interest for the
Yeah.
guest to know this is not a steel structure. This is a timber frame and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, one way we highlight that at our property is in our auditorium. We have a half an hour documentary we play every so often, for guests who want to see what the story was of how the ark came to be, and it shows a lot of video footage of the ark's construction and the leadership involved and where the timbers came from and how the exhibits were built. So we capture it through that. And there's also some signage in the ark as well. One of the highlights on the first deck of the ark is just what went into the design of the ark. Because the Bible only provides us with some basic overall dimensions, but we also want to think through what ancient ships were like. So there was study that went beyond that just on our part to think, what could Noah have known? And so we have some teaching based on that also.
So from your perspective as a designer, like, is that the fun part? Like going in and figuring all that stuff out, what was shipbuilding like back then? And, and then kind of turning that into a design that then becomes a real structure. Is that kind of something that really kind of motivates you, for lack of a better term?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And this is probably pretty similar to anyone working in this industry. A lot of the expertise or content came from experts. So we weren't necessarily just dreaming this up on our own. So we were doing a lot of consulting with others and reading. There's a feasibility study that was done by a guy named Wood Marapi on the Ark. And so we consulted a lot of people. The fun part for us, I think, was trying to translate all that information into an experience that families can come and enjoy and take in. So how do we bring that to life in a way that people can enjoy? Because people could go online and read a lot of the information, but to really make it experiential in a way that a kid can have a hands-on experience that brings it to life for them.
Hmm.
Coming into this experience, and maybe like hitting rewind, sort of like back to when you joined the organization. You mentioned, you said you're a Christian, you know the Bible, you've already had probably a very strong foundational knowledge of the story of Noah's Ark. Has this experience given you a new perspective on it?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think our whole team, we spent years working on developing the Ark Encounter, and I had never spent 2 years in like four passages of the Bible every day trying to just eat it up. And so I think that was the experience for our whole team. I mean, a lot of people have read through a few chapters in Genesis quickly about the story of the Ark, but there is so much to unpack there. And it was really a blessing to be able to spend time with a team. And that was kind of our job in a way, to dive deep into it and then learn how we can translate that in an experience for guests. But yeah, it's definitely changed and enhanced my view. And one of those, I mean, just one clear way is to look at the life of Noah. And, we don't know too much about him. He wasn't perfect. None of us are. But there's something pretty cool to see his faith and to be inspired by that in the middle of a time when he was one of the few. I mean, he and his family were the ones that God used there. So he stood up against what the culture was going towards.
Well, all this discussion of the Ark, it's probably a good time to talk about the Spark at the Ark event
Yeah, cool.
that I know you wanted to chat a little bit about. So tell us more about that.
Yes, thank you so much. So we're really excited. This May 6th through 7th, we're putting on an event called Spark at the Ark. And the idea is it's an event, it's a gathering designed for creatives in the themed entertainment, theatrical production, or other creative industries. We just want to invite everyone together. We'll have one day at the Ark, second days at the Creation Museum and at our design studio. We'll have behind the scenes tours at our attractions. We also have a lot of really cool speakers from those industries coming. We're thrilled to be able to share. For example, Theron Skis, he was a guy with a career at Walt Disney Imagineering. He'll be one of our keynote speakers. Garner Holt, who's a legend in the animatronics world. A guy named David Zellner, he was president of Six Flags Over Georgia, retired recently. So we have a lot of really cool people coming, and we're thrilled about it. So if you're interested, we'd love to invite you. You can go to arkencounter.com/spark to learn all about it. You can get tickets, see a promo video, learn about the speakers and their bios. We'd love to invite anybody to come.
Awesome. We'll make sure we put that in the show notes so people are able to access it easily. Curious if maybe we could transition a little bit to maybe career development or career advice, and would love to know what you would want to tell maybe aspiring design professionals on what you would recommend.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great question. I know everyone's journey looks different, of course. For me, I think I would recommend to never be shy in terms of networking, emailing someone. For me, internships were a big part of my journey, and along with all that was, I was always just emailing someone, hey, my name's Alan. I'm passionate about themed entertainment. I love the work you do. Do you have any openings? Stuff along those lines. Never say no to an opportunity, even if it's small. Those have been a big deal for me. And we're so fortunate here. I mean, we have an internship program. We're seeing a lot of artists and designer students who are applying and coming in and sharing their portfolio. And every year it seems like they get better and better with new programs. So, yeah, I think for me, I wouldn't be shy about networking and seeking out opportunities, no matter what they may look like.
So I'm curious if we stay on that career thread just for a second. I know for me, there have been certain, I guess, turning points or really key elements of the career journey that have either taken me in a specific direction or told me I was going in the right direction and that kind of thing. I'm curious, as you look back on your career, what some of those kind of milestone moments might have been for you.
Yeah, oh, that's a great question. There's a few that kind of just come to the top of my mind. One, I was in the eighth grade, and there was a career shadow day opportunity. And my mom reached out to a guy named Tony Carvellano at Kings Island. He's still there. He's their VP of operations. And he allowed me and a friend to shadow him for a day. And I mean, that meant the world to us. He was so kind. He was so generous. But I think that was one of probably the very first interaction with a professional in the industry like that I had. And I think that was really eye-opening. He showed us behind the scenes and all that kind of stuff. Another one, I think when I was in college, I didn't even know what the design world was. I was just thinking, okay, roller coasters, engineering, that must be all there is. And I had an advisor who just kind of showed me some concept art, some pretty pictures, and he said, this is another route. And that was really eye-opening for me. And I just thought, oh, okay. I may not love math, but I can still really enjoy this industry. And it clicks a lot better in that direction. So that was huge for me. And then Patrick Marsh, who I spoke of earlier, he went to be with the Lord about 3 years ago now. But he was really the creative leader here. Just interacting with him on a daily basis, just the fact that he gave me a chance to start here, and then kind of just kind of watching how he did life throughout the years that I was here when he was here. I learned frequently. I'm thinking back, what kind of things, how would Patrick approach this? What would he think about this? So that kind of just over the course of time relationship was really influential to me.
So going back to, you said you started working at Kings Island when you were 15 years old.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's say you didn't do that. Let's say you ended up finding another career path. If you weren't in this industry, what do you think you'd be doing?
Man, that is a hard question. I think, like, what if I was born before roller coasters were invented? I don't know what I would do. I don't know what I'd do. If I couldn't work in this industry anywhere in the industry, I think I'd probably maybe be involved like as a youth pastor at a church, because I think there is a lot of the same um, s- skills or interests that are kind of tapping on. I mean, we consider ourselves experienced creators, storytellers here, and in the giving of a biblical message through a talk, kind of a setting, you can kind of recreate what an experience is like as well, and try to impact individual lives. So if I had to be somewhere else, I'd probably be in a pastoral setting of some kind, maybe working with youth.
Cool. Cool. Well, I have maybe a future speculation question for you, because you've mentioned the word storyteller a couple times. You just mentioned experienced creators, and you've mentioned a couple of different ways that you've chosen to tell the story in the Ark. You mentioned a diorama and VR and all those type of techniques. I'm curious where you see that art of storytelling going in the future for themed entertainment.
Yeah. That's a great question. I mean, for us here, we've thought about that in a few different directions. I mean, I don't think no matter what happens, to me, it seems that creating immersive physical experiences is not going to go away. At least that's my perspective. And that's still where we put a lot of our emphasis. We're working right now on a new welcome center. And to call it a welcome center is kind of misleading because we're really treating it like a themed entry experience at the Ark. It's a large building, it's under construction, and still with the newest experiences, we prioritize immersive themed spaces with props and story. And we're working also on a diorama of first century Jerusalem right now. It's 1 to 100 scale. People are this tall. But that I think people love tactile experiences they can see and take in, and are overwhelmed in a sense by. Of course, technology is, it's beyond me every day, but AI, AR, all those kind of things we see and we're kind of keeping track of as well. We're opening 2 virtual reality experiences this year, one in Branson and one in Pigeon Forge. You're kind of remote away from the Ark property, smaller experiences, but we see the interest that people have in VR. We're also working on some artificial intelligence things here in house, considering we've had ideas, could we make a character like Noah, an AI character that you could ask questions to? He could give you unique custom answers for those questions. So those are all things that we're kind of thinking through. And yeah, as the industry grows, it'll be fun to see. I mean, just with ride technology and storytelling technology, but I don't think we'll ever depart from physical, tangible, immersive experiences that really encourage memorable experiences amongst groups or families. That's just my thoughts.
No, well said. No, I completely agree. But it's also really, really interesting to hear about, you talking about VR and AR in the context of talking about biblical history and really
Yeah.
merging those together. And it's really interesting to just hear that perspective, and kind of makes me excited to see what the future holds, to be able to kind of maybe preserve that magic while at the same time leveraging technology to find new ways of delivering it. So
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm sure any group who's thinking about these kind of things has similar ideas, but like um, with AI or with AR rather, I mean, we're dreaming of, we're working on this Jerusalem model. Could we create an app that people look through their phone on, and then this model comes to life and they see people walking and whatever's happening, real stories happening in real time, or at the Ark as well. You look through a lens and you see animals walking around, or Noah and his family caring for them. So there's so many possibilities out there.
So many possibilities. We'd have to have another podcast to talk about them, I think.
Yeah.
But Alan, this has been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for your time. If people wanted to learn more about you, or Answers in Genesis, or the Ark Encounter, or the Creation Museum, where would you send them?
Yeah, if you want to reach out to me, you just go to my LinkedIn account there, Alan Greene. Please feel free to message me. And for our properties, I mean, you can go to arkencounter.com, creationmuseum.org, or Answers in Genesis. That's our kind of mother brand ministry. So any of those. We have also Facebook and social media accounts also.
awesome. Alan, thank you so much for your time today. This interview was really interesting. I really enjoyed learning all about the Ark Encounter, and all about the Creation Museum and Answers in Genesis, and your design process as well. So we really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. And for everyone out there who is watching and listening, just remember, we are all attraction pros.